I was 17 when when communism in Poland collapsed, but I experienced myself the martial law, tanks on the streets, and my hometown is actually where Lech Walesa comes from. So, and my school was 200 meters to the shipyard, and I was the witness of what's going on. And when COVID-19 craziness hit 2020, it was very clear for me from the very beginning when I've seen all those mechanisms of control. So it was very clear to me that it's not about health, that is about control.
So, hey Alexa for ArriveCAN News, and I'm currently in Montreal. And you know, most of the people think that health measure is done, life is back to normal, but no. Today we have an interview with Jacob, and Jacob had been the victim of one of the hefty fine that people have received for not respecting the quarantine when returned from a travel. He went there because he had a really important reason, and he's here to explain what happened. This interview took place last autumn, and the court date has been rescheduled to April 15, 2024, to allow us to seek assistance for the Democracy Fund in challenging Mr. Malser fine. Mr. Malser is one of many victims of the so-called ArriveCAN app, which has cost taxpayers more than $59 million. This app, used to track and gather the vaccination status of Canadians, is currently under investigation in the House of Commons. This is a significant scandal, especially considering that one of the consultants involved in this matter, who received the most money, opened since 2011 two companies in fiscal paradise and is apparently known to the RCMP in other investigations. If you would like to fight back against this app and support Jacob in contesting this excessive fine, you can contribute to noarrivecan.com to help cover the expenses associated with his legal battle. Can you just tell us a little bit who you are?
Sure. Hi, my name is Jacob. I'm a Canadian citizen, but I'm originally Polish. My whole family is still in Poland, and last year, in May 2022, my mother passed away, so I made everything possible to attend her funeral. And from the very start, it was very difficult because the government didn't want to help at all, even for compassionate reasons. In May 2022, it was the time when the measures were lifted for vaccinated people for COVID-19. However, they were kept for unvaccinated people. But it was known officially that both could get the virus and get sick. So there was no scientific or medical ground to keep it. It was merely a punitive measure. Okay, before returning to Canada, I was obliged to fill out a form in Arrive Canada application and declare whether I was vaccinated or not. And then this application would tell me, okay, you have to self-isolate. So then I believe that based on this information, I was entered. My information was entered into the system, and I was supposed to self-isolate for 14 days. But one day I was just climbing the walls, and I decided that I need to clear my thoughts, and I took my car, and I was just driving around, and I was stopped by the cop. He was surprised. We had a short conversation. He checked my license, and then he gave it back to me, told me to go back home, which I did. At the time, he didn't hand me any ticket. He said nothing. He just told me to go home. I went home, and 15 months later, I got the ticket, $6,250 ticket in the mail. He didn't say it, he was behind me, and this is a common practice, I believe, that the cops are scanning plates randomly. So he must have just seen it in the system that he didn't tell me, he just said to me, "Is it your car? Are you Mr.?" And I said, "Yes." "And why aren't you at home?" And then I tried to explain why.
How was your reaction when you get the ticket in the mail?
Nothing surprises me anymore here in Canada. So I thought that maybe I met a human being at the time, that maybe he didn't report it. And I'm a healthy person because guess what? To be able to travel, to come back to Canada, I needed to have a negative COVID test result. Well, he reported it, and it took the the crown almost more than a year just to send me that ticket. And now I have a court case. It's in December, on the 20th of December, 2023.
Want you have your thought on the fact that your ticket is on the criminal and penal department. How do you feel about that?
Well, how do I feel about it? I'm a law-abiding citizen, and all I did was to attend my mom's funeral and to drive my own car. And I wasn't even speeding. It's wrong, and I contest this ticket. To be honest, I'm not sure about my approach, how to fight it, because on moral grounds, I would love to go there and say in the courts, this is wrong. I have done nothing wrong. And crossing the border here in Canada, it was a nut house. The airport was just completely crazy. And there in Europe, it was a completely different world. People were free already in 2021. And so they don't understand. They were never oppressed by the state as much as we have been. I'm a little bit afraid and concerned about the future of my kids. Because the thing is that the people that have done it to us, they're still in power. I had a few responses, but not from the politicians. You are the third one to respond, and I'm very grateful for that.
Can we know like who did respond to you?
It was the Democracy Fund, and I think the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. Actually, they helped me to get to Poland last year because upon their suggestion, I've found this loophole. That's another thing. The government lied to us, telling us that we can't leave the country. We could. There was a way to do it. And I even called I know I'm changing the subject a little bit, but this is the broader context. I've even called the Ministry of Health of Canada last year, and they were not able to give me any law that would forbid us to leave the country or to board a plane. It was merely basically the policies. There were the policies.
ArriveCAN, also called ArriveCAN, it's one of the most huge scandals in Canadian history. $59 million in taxpayer money being used to create an app for not only tracking Canadians, but coercing them to being vaccinated. Now, it's under scrutiny at the House of Commons, but we are going to do our part. We are going to fight along some of the victims of this app, and we will challenge it legally. So if you want to contribute, you can do so at noarrivecan.com. Chip in generously right now if you can.